Today, I'm going over everything that there is to know about the best couple in Demon Slayer, Mitsuri and Iguro. I am a huge Mitsuri and Iguro shipper, and I'm going to tell you everything that there is, from the manga to the official fan books. If you don't know, there are 2 official fan books, and they're made by the creator and are considered to be canon. I was researching for hours to find everything that there is, and I'm so excited to share this with y'all because they're my absolute favorite ship, and I just can't wait to talk about them. By the end of the video, I bet you're gonna love them too. So let's start from the beginning, the very beginning, when they first meet. So where did the 2 first meet? The 2 of them met at the leader's house, and something super important happens when they first meet. And what is that? When they first meet, Iguro falls in love with Mitsuri. And how do we know this for sure? Well, this comes from the first official fan book. In the Iguro section, it asks, when did the love pillar first catch your eye? And he says it was love at first sight. She was so cute that he was left dumbfounded. That even Kaburamaru, which is his snake companion that he's always with, bit him because he was confused. Mitsuri immediately won over Iguro. In volume 22 of the manga, there's even an extra that is Iguro's impression of Mitsuri when they first meet, and it's so cute. So it starts off not so cute, talking about Iguro's past and how he's always really mistrusted and hated women because of his past. Slight spoilers for his backstory, he was raised by a band of thieves, and in this band of thieves, there were only women for like the past 200 years. He was the first boy in this family, and for most of his life, he was raised in a cage and wasn't allowed to go out. He was very badly mistreated, and at one point, his face was mutilated. After he was rescued by Rengoku, the father, not the younger one, he joined the Demon Slayer Corps. It was really hard for him to get past these feelings of hatred and conquer his hatred of women. He even found the women that he'd encountered up until that point in the Demon Slayer Corps to be pathetic, both in resolve and in respect. So Iguro hated them too. And says, when Mitsuri-chan started talking to him, he was startled by her brightness, her kindness, and her honesty. All of this brightness was just too dazzling for him, and for the first time in his life, Iguro saw a woman as beautiful. Also says, putting the first impression aside, Mitsuri is very talkative. He learned about her family, her cat's name, what a cat looks like, her favorite food, and everything from this one conversation, and he also learned the power of cat lovers. After their first meeting, they quickly hit it off, with Iguro falling madly in love with Mitsuri. It even states this in the first official fanbook. There's a section where the pillars talk about their impressions of the other pillars, and this is what Iguro's impression is of Mitsuri. It says, I love her, she is so cute, I'm unable to speak logically sometimes, and I worry because of it. The 2 begin exchanging letters, and this means so much to Mitsuri. In fact, she mentions it in both the first fanbook and the second fanbook. In the same section where it lists the impressions of the other pillars, it gives Mitsuri's impression of Iguro, and it says this. He is a very kind person, the letters that he sends me are wonderful, and he always compliments me a lot. In addition, he always waits for me with a friendly smile when I'm eating slowly. And as I said before, she talks about the letters again in the second fanbook, and this is in Mitsuri's section in the second fanbook, and this is what she says. Mitsuri was always nervous about the opposite sex, but she especially liked Iguro, who exchanged letters with her and was always very kind to her. It even states, there were times where she wanted to confess her feelings with him, but because of the trauma of her marriage interview in the past, and the fact that she was worried about misinterpreting that Iguro was kind to everyone and not just her, and for those reasons, she didn't tell him how she felt. Does say, in fact, the only person that Iguro is especially kind to is Mitsuri, which is totally true. There were even times where she would write to Shinobu asking for love advice about Iguro, and Shinobu is just as clueless as she is. So Shinobu would write her back, and it sounded more like research papers than actual love advice, mentioning things like heart rate and blood pressure. Now, Mitsuri is really unsure of herself and her feelings because when she was 17, her fiance called off their engagement, and he said some really messed up things to her. He said only an animal would ever take her as a wife, and he proceeds to make fun of her hair color and say that he shudders at the idea of giving that to his children. Mitsuri took this all to heart, and she decided to change who she was. She started dyeing her hair black, she would eat so little that she felt faint, and she would act weak instead of strong, which she actually was. She decided to hide all of these traits that made her unique. So it meant the world to her when she found someone who really accepted her. When her and Iguro would eat together, he wouldn't gawk at how much food she was eating, and he was proud of her strength. It wasn't something she had to hide. Whenever they eat together, they're just so cute. Although Iguro didn't eat with her at the time, and there's a reason for this. It states it in the second fanbook. States Iguro didn't like to eat much because it was too much trouble, but he felt happy when he saw Mitsuri eating delicious food. After eating with her, but not together, like at the same time, he was able to work up an appetite and eat more later on. If you don't know why he's not eating with her, it's because he doesn't want to show her his scars. Just a reminder that Mitsuri talks about how much she enjoys eating with him in the first fan book. I covered that earlier. First time that we see them in the same place is in volume 6 during the Hashira meeting, where they're determining whether or not they're going to let Nezuko live. And not much happens here, but there is this really cute panel of Mitsuri fangirling over Iguro. She's saying, he's so persistent like a snake, so persistent and wonderful. And then sadly, we don't get to see them interact much again until volume 15. This is after the Swordsmith Village arc, where Mitsuri has sustained injuries, and of course Iguro is checking in on her and asking how she is. And of course, she's feeling better. I also want to cover just the cutest scene in this chapter. So in this chapter, Mitsuri is trying to explain something, but she's doing a really poor job at it. And after she explains it, you can see Sanemi is looking at Iguro and he's like, is this your girl? Are you serious? And Mitsuri just gets so embarrassed, but it's just really cute. She even says, I'm gonna go hide in a tiny hole now, which I think is hilarious. We also learn in volume 12 in one of the manga extras that the socks that Mitsuri is wearing are a gift from Iguro, and we learn in the first official fanbook why he gave her those as a gift. In Iguro's section in the first fanbook, under the same question where it asks when did the love pillar first catch your eye, it also asks why did he give her those socks. And Iguro says that he gave her socks because she was fidgety and embarrassed about her uniform. If you don't know, her uniform is too small and her bust is out because this creepy dude decided to give her a uniform that was too small. So Iguro gave her the socks so that she would be less embarrassed, and I just think that's so cute because she wears them all the time. After this occurs in chapter 132 is the beginning of the training camp arc. Tanjiro has just finished up with Muichiro and he's about to go on to Kanroji's. And then right after he does Mitsuri's, he has to go to Iguro's, and Iguro has heard all about Tanjiro from Kanroji's letters, and he is not happy, not in the slightest. When he first walks up, Iguro is like, Tanjiro, I have been waiting for you. And Tanjiro is trying to be his friend, is like, hi, nice to meet you. And Iguro is like, no, I have heard about you from her letters. It seems that she has fun training you. But then he says, unlike Kanroji, I'm not a nice person. And Tanjiro's like, this guy has hated me from the very beginning. And after he completes Iguro's part, he says, bye, rot in hell, you piece of shit. Don't ever talk so casually to Kanroji again. And we're about to get into the best and most sad, bittersweet part of Mitsuri and Iguro. This will be covering the final battle, so this is a spoiler warning. I will be talking about the final battle in regards to them too. In chapter 164, we see that Mitsuri and Iguro have teamed up together, and they're both looking for Nakame in the final battle. This is the first time that we get to see them fight together, and he's really great with her. He even calms her down when she seems to get a little bit over her head, and there are multiple times where he's looking out for her and trying to save her. I'm gonna lose my mind when some of these scenes get animated. They work so well together, and just look how good they look. Flash forward more chapters, we get another update in chapter 181, and it seems that they are still after the same target, and we're pretty far into the final battle. There's only 205 chapters of Demon Slayer. From here on out, things just get worse. In chapter 182, Muzan tells Tanjiro that it seems that both of them are dead. And we see this panel, and it's not looking good. But surprisingly, they're both still alive, having suffered a lot of injuries already, but we still have so many chapters until it's the end. In this chapter, Mitsuri and Iguro join the fight against Muzan, but they begin to take more and more hits. And some of these hits are very, very serious. So serious, in fact, that it seems that Kanroji cannot fight anymore. When Kanroji is taken out, you can see this panel that even Kaburamaru and Iguro are just so worried about her. Iguro decides that he has to go and help finish this, and Mitsuri calls out to him, begging him not to die. Let me tell you, my heart shattered when I read this chapter, because Iguro talks about what could have been. What could have been if they didn't live in a world filled with demons and he actually got the chance to love Kanroji. Saying, if you and I would have met under more peaceful circumstances, I wonder what would have been. Iguro feels like he can't possibly have Kanroji during this lifetime because he was born from such a filthy family and he's undeserving of her. And more than anything, he wants to defeat Muzan and die so that he can cleanse his soul, and maybe he can be reincarnated so he can finally be with Kanroji. He says, if we reincarnate into a world without demons, then I definitely will tell you that I love you. Moving on to chapter 190, and things are not looking good. It is a rough fight. Iguro is trying his best to fight for Kanroji, but it's not working, and Kanroji is in bad condition. And Iguro remains fighting long after he sustained very, very serious injuries. Iguro fights until dawn, and then in chapter 200 is when it gets very sad. Mitsuri is looking very grave, and Iguro is holding her in his arms, and he tells her that it's over. And she's happy that it's over, but she tells him that she's gonna die. She can't feel anything, and this is the end. Iguro tells Mitsuri that it's okay because he's probably gonna die soon too. And Mitsuri tells him how sorry she is that she couldn't do more in this fight. He says, remember the first day that we met? And then she says that that was the day that he saved her. And then he says, no, that was the day that you saved me. He says, you get happy over the smallest things, and your smile is as clear as day. Although you went through hellish training to become a pillar, you don't show it in the slightest. And then it's them sitting together, and he said, I enjoyed talking to you. I felt like a normal boy. Bottomless cheer and kindness has saved so many people. You should be proud. And he reassures her in these final moments. Mitsuri then confesses that she has always cared about Iguro, and that meals always tasted better when he was with her, because he would look at her with so much affection. And then she says, Iguro, if we're reborn as humans, can I be your bride? He says, yes, of course, if you will have me. I will make you happy, and this time I will protect you so that you won't die. And he says this as he's holding her in his arms as they're both dying. And then we get this panel where it shows them walking the other direction from the people who have lived. If you're wondering what happens to a snake after this, Kaburamaru is given to Kanayo, and there are a bunch of pictures of them together, and he seems really happy. So is that all there is? A love story and then they both die? Well, yes, but it does get a little better. In chapter 205, we get the future of Demon Slayer and what happens in modern day Japan. Now, some of the descendants are talking about going to this cafe, and who works at this cafe? But this lovely couple who resembles Mitsuri and Iguro. They are the reincarnations of them. And in this life, they are married and they have 5 kids. Their diner has snake decor and apparently has huge portions, which totally makes sense since Mitsuri can eat as much as 3 sumo wrestlers. And something really funny is one of the descendants actually got a knife thrown at him from Iguro's reincarnation because he wouldn't stop staring at Mitsuri's big chest. In a way, they get their dream. They get to be married in a world where they're both humans and there are no demons. They own a diner together and have 5 kids. And that is everything you need to know about Mitsuri and Iguro. I absolutely adore them. I know everyone is going to fall in love with them, especially after the final battle is animated, but that's going to be years away. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe and follow my TikTok for more anime content. In the comments below, let me know what is your favorite anime ship.